All right, well, good evening. This is one of our, over the course of the 14 weeks that you're in the class, I think this is one of our more exciting nights in that it's a night that we get to invite some of our alumni back to participate and share with you. And kind of the theme for the night is, if I knew then what I know now, what might I have done differently, or also what might I have done the exact same. So it's a great night for all of the alumni that come up and speak to kind of tell you their story, tell you how they got to where they are today, and going back to when they were sitting in your seats. And it's a great chance for you to also ask them questions. And don't be afraid to ask them questions that are specific to your situation, specific to your product, specific to any of your needs of your product or your company. It's definitely appropriate to do that. So we have a strong lineup tonight, and we're lucky to lead it off with Marilyn from Kember's Gluten Free. She has a great story to tell you about and how both her company and her product has evolved. So I'll introduce Marilyn to you right now.
Hello. Let's see here. I have a couple products, and then I totally forgot the third line that we have, an entire line. It's a spice line. I pulled in and went, oh shoot, I forgot to bring the spices. But anyway, you can see that we have baking mixes. That's what we started with in the class. And then we now have a ready-made pizza dough that you take and roll out and bake at home. And then we also have a spice line as well. But my name is Marilyn, like Uri said, and I own Kember's Gluten Free. My name's not Kember, although a lot of people call me Kember. But it is my two daughters' names combined, Kate and Ember. And the reason why the business became that name is because I had to go gluten-free, dairy-free, soy-free, pretty much everything free in 2009 for a medical condition. Just kind of overall calm my body down. I don't have celiac, but I have an intolerance to gluten. And through that whole journey of sort of eliminating different foods and whatnot, I discovered I have a whole lot of other intolerances as well. And so through that process, I started making these really specialized meals, and I'd have to make basically a second meal for my kids and my husband, and that got to be very, within a month, I was like, forget it, I can't do this anymore. So I decided to go out to the stores and buy some of the ready-made, the mixes and the different products that are out there, crackers and whatnot, mac and cheese I think I got, things like that. And I would bring it home and I'd make it up, and I couldn't eat it. It was like cardboard. So I decided to roll my sleeves up and actually dig in. I went to Bob's Red Mill and got 12 different flours and just started experimenting. I grew up with my mom making bread from scratch. I actually never knew you could get a brownie from a box, mix, until I was late in high school. My friends were making fun of me, but yeah, so I knew that all the tricks of baking and how to cook and whatnot, but I didn't know how to do it gluten-free. So it took a while. I mean, it was a good 6 months to a year of experimenting with all these different flours, and this was back in 2009 as well, which means that there was not quite as much information, recipes, and whatnot back then. So through it all, I'm a little bit of an insane inventor. I get really fixated on a recipe, and I want it to be perfect. I want it to be something where my kids would eat it and not know that it's gluten-free. Or I could have my family members over and they would have no idea. And we could just all eat the same thing. So when I am in the process of inventing a recipe, creating a recipe, I get a little bit, I'm a perfectionist, so I get fixated on it. And I'll spend 2 weeks in my pajamas, literally. It's a little bit embarrassing, but I do. And the recipes, they turn out awesome. They're just because I am thinking of the tiniest little taste and texture and whatnot. So over that period of time, kind of coming up with some different things, I started having friends and families and even neighbors, things like that, ask me for the recipes. And eventually I started making up little mixes for them, or ready-made, pumpkin bread already done. And one of them looked at me and said, hey, have you thought about selling this stuff? And I was like, no, why would I sell this stuff? I like to bake. I don't know what you're talking about. And well, then I started kind of looking into it, and this class came up as one of the first things that when you start Googling. And I thought, well, I'll give it a try. And so that was, gosh, like 4 years ago?
Yeah, 2012.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's been a crazy ride ever since then. So I have to tell you, I kind of went into the class, and maybe you'll feel some of this same way, and maybe you won't. But when I was sitting in that chair, I remember feeling just devastated at the end of every class. Like, how am I ever gonna make money on this thing? I don't get it. Like, I don't need to be super wealthy, but it does need to kind of pay for itself and like maybe turn some profit for my family if I'm gonna devote all this time into it. And the more we did the different charts and the calculations and whatnot, I just couldn't figure it out. And back then we were doing it as a contest. It's not that way anymore, but at that point the whole class led up to the finale, which was presenting to New Seasons, and whoever was the winner got to be on the shelves at New Seasons, and whoever was deemed the winner by New Seasons. And I remember telling Uri that I didn't want to win. I said, I can't be on the store shelves. I can't afford it. This is ridiculous. This will be not good for us. And so that was when he talked me off the ledge. And he is an amazing resource, by the way, for alternative thinking, if you haven't discovered that already, but just different sales avenues. And so through that discussion of, well, you don't have to do the grocery store. You could think about X, Y, and Z. And I started just sort of Google, and my brain started turning, and we had many meetings where he helped me gain some positive energy towards it. And I decided, okay, I'm gonna keep going with this thing, but I'm not gonna do grocery stores. And I'm pretty sure I was one of maybe very few that decided that, because the grocery stores are really exciting. It's exciting to have your name in a grocery store. But for me, it was bottom line. It was all like on paper, can I make money at this thing? Can my product sell without my family sacrificing all of our financial stability? And in the end, the grocery stores weren't going to do that for me, at least with my product. So we ended up going a different route. I think the class ended, and like 3 days later, I decided to join the farmer's market. And I would just give it the summer and see what happened. And it was actually really fun. Have never done that before, done a farmer's market. A ton of work, but really glad that I went that direction. Because first of all, I sort of got in touch with the client, the consumer base out there. I got tons of feedback on the product itself. Actually altered some of the formula. Turned out there were quite a few people that were potato free. It's a nightshade, so it's inflammatory. So they wanted to have something that didn't have potato starch in it. So I reformulated several of the mixes, all but one actually, to be potato free. So there was all kinds of stuff like that. The sugar, diabetes, and you start to get into the land of food allergens, and you discover a lot when you're at the farmer's market. So it was very, very helpful. Just all of that feedback and criticism, but also, helpful critiques, getting to know people in general that aren't like me. It was very, very good for the shaping of kind of where we were going to go in the future. So we were there. We actually just finished our 3rd year, I think, at the farmer's market, maybe 4th season. And it's a grind. I mean, it's tough. It's a tough deal. You're setting up shop. The rain, the wind, the people can be challenging. They can be awesome too. So, but I also got to know other vendors, learned a lot about what they were doing with their business. So the value, even though it was a tough thing, the value is huge in order what I mean is like by getting in touch with your consumer base, but also just with your product. You get a really intimate look at your product when you're in that booth. every single weekend. So that was the direction that we chose to go. Did not get on the grocery store shelves until we built a client base that was, just people coming back. I really want to find you during the week. Where are you? I heard that for a year and a half before we actually approached a grocery store. And by that time, I had built up enough. There were customers going into those grocery stores asking for us for so long that I was able to get a price. I offered a price they never counter offered. And I think that that's a benefit too. You have a lot more leverage when you have a client, you have a following. You can say, hey, we have this amount in sales. These are our most popular items. You kind of know a little bit more about what your product line is, what it does, why people want it. You can make your pitch harder, better, stronger, and that way you have the chance of getting the price that you want a little bit more. So I'm not saying that that price is still super awesome, because it's not. Grocery stores are tough. They're very, very tough. So price-wise, the margin is not there. So I decided to go into I was calculated where I wanted this grocery store to be, which one I wanted to do it with, and I decided on New Seasons with one store. And I just wanted to give it a try and see what the repercussions, pros, cons, and all that. So glad I did that, because it was a good baby step. I learned that sampling is incredibly expensive. I learned that sampling is the only way to sell your product on the grocery store shelves. I learned that New Seasons, in particular, I can't really speak this of other grocery stores necessarily just because I haven't had the relationship, but New Seasons is incredibly supportive of local brands. So that was very beneficial, just joining forces with the potential that there is in joining forces with a local market like that is significant. The fact that you are on a grocery store shelf, it does legitimize your name, your brand for consumers. So as soon as you say that you're in New Seasons or somewhere else that seems important to them, suddenly you're a real brand. So that was valuable as well. So there were just lots of ways that was valuable, which there's my positive spin on it. There's so many ways that it still continues to be a struggle for me with the baking mixes. So I decided not to go into all the other 18 New Seasons. We stuck with just the one for now, because I couldn't make it work. I mean, it's been over 2 years or so, and I've been sampling, and we're selling more. Each month, the sales go up, but the profit margin is so small. Unless I'm there sampling more and more and more, which is just my time, which is money, I can't make it work at the end like I wanted to. So I decided to stay with just that one store. I looked into other avenues, which Uri and I had talked about for a long time. And there are some sales avenues that are just rocking. And it depends, that's for my product. So I'm going to tell you the ones that are great for my product. This might be different if you have like a frozen item or refrigerated, or even just a jarred something or other. It may be different for you. So keep that in mind. But for me, Amazon is amazing. I have a shelf-stable product, this one is, and the spices as well. And man, talk about legitimizing my brand. I mean, people, if you're at a food show, which I do gluten-free food shows, the second they say, where can we find you? And I say, I'm not really in grocery stores. You can find me here today, or my website, or on Amazon. And as soon as I say Amazon, they're like, oh, okay. And sure enough, they'll go home and order right off of Amazon. I get very few orders on my website versus the orders from Amazon. It's significant, the value that people place on that Amazon. They think that they've interviewed me or even tested the product, and they haven't. So I don't know. But either way, it works for our product. Amazon's great. Plus, people are used to buying things on Amazon and giving feedback. So they'll give you your ratings. They'll give you a lot more. I can get them to rate my products a lot easier on Amazon than I can on my website.
Can you take a moment to explain how it works on Amazon?
Yeah, well, it's longer than a moment to explain how it works because there's several different ways that you can get on Amazon. I would say if this is something that you're interested in, I left cards over there. I would be happy to talk with you more at length about it. But in general, there's 3 different ways to get on Amazon. They all have different rates, percentage rates that they charge you per mix, where there's pros and cons. Some of them you have certain advertising pluses to, and others you don't. So it's a little complicated. Amazon is not just something that you hop onto like Etsy or one of the other online stores. It's something that you really do need to put some time into, and you need to have conversations with people like me or other people that you might know that have a store on Amazon. Totally doable, not to discourage you. I would highly recommend looking into it. Google your particular product and see what like Google sellers on Amazon with your particular product, and look at the ratings, look at their sales, look at all of that, and see if you can maybe just do a little bit of homework, see if it's something that looks like might be beneficial for your product. And then for sure contact me, because I'd be happy to talk through all of that with you. But also there's all kinds of, you can contact Amazon and they'll run through it all with you, all of the ups and downs and percentages and whatnot that they want to take for each mix and that kind of thing. There's this whole separate section. There's actually, Amazon has several separate platforms. One is called Launchpad, and that is something that I actually just was super fortunate enough to get invited onto. It's called Amazon Launchpad. It was through a total random awesome connection with my business developer that I brought on a couple years ago to help me learn how to grow the business beyond just a little farmer's market. He was actually sitting on a plane next to the dude that oversees Amazon Launchpad, and they started talking about whatever, and he brought up this, hey, I'm part owner in this business with the baking mixes, gluten-free, and he said, oh my gosh, my daughter's a celiac, and he said, send me samples of your product. So I sent him everything, and they loved it. The whole family loved all of it, and they said, we're sending you an invite. So I don't know, that doesn't happen apparently. Apparently there's like thousands of people who apply, and they only let 100 on to Launchpad. But I would still apply, because you never know. You never know what category they're wanting products in. You never know. You cannot get discouraged by those numbers, because if it's meant to be, it's gonna be. And that's definitely one area. I kept pushing on Amazon, trying to figure out how to grow it. I looked at all the other ways to, I could change my shop and different things partnerships I could make with them and strike with them. But none of it really worked until this finally panned out. And so we actually just got accepted onto the Launchpad on, I think like a month ago, and we have our first promotion next week. So we'll see how it goes and what kind of volume we do. But basically Launchpad, it takes it's Amazon's gift to entrepreneurs of small businesses that are startups. They take these people, they take their products, and they launch it to the moon, is what they're promising. So they promote you, they do all the sales and marketing, they pay for all of that. They order it by the pallet load to their warehouse, they ship it, they handle all the returns, they handle customer complaints, they also request feedback from customers, which is huge. So there's a lot of pluses, and I actually was able to get the same price as I did selling it to the grocery store. So it's the same exact profit margin as selling it to the grocery store, but I'm selling it by the pallet load to one location. I don't have to sample it. I don't have to market it. I don't have to do any of that. So if it goes well, then it'll be great. So
Marilyn, with the time we have left, I just want to shift gears slightly and go back to the product itself.
Sure.
and just talk about maybe the evolution and growth of your product line, and if you could incorporate into that also how your packaging has changed along the way, and even how your logo has changed from what it was along the way.
Okay, well, the brand marketing, I started off with putting in quite a bit of money into that. I hired somebody that was super talented, and I'm really glad that I did, because I haven't had to change it at all. So I actually haven't had to change pretty much anything. I think the only thing I've done is add a picture onto the mixes, because I invested money up front, and it's a quality, he did a quality job. I haven't had to go back and redo a lot of that. So I was very, very happy with the money that I spent there. And the product lineup, so it started with one mix, went to two very quickly, and then within a year I had 4, and then within the second year I had 6 mixes. I would do the mixes that same way again, but the thing that I would not do again is add the spice line, because I don't even have time to sell it. I don't have time, because I'm still trying to find ways to sell the mixes. Now I have this whole separate line that has different uses and different vendors that I could sell it to and whatnot. It's a whole separate brainstorming session in my brain when it comes to spices. Some of the people are the same. The consumers at the farmer's market are the same, but it sits in a different part of the store. If you're going to buy it at the grocery store, it sits at a different part of it. Restaurants could use it in a different way. It's a totally different type of a product, and I wish that's a mistake that I made. They always tell you don't add SKUs, right, and don't add too many. That's probably where I went wrong on that one.
Can you also include maybe some specific sourcing, like where are you sourcing your bags from for your mixes? Have you changed sources of whether it's ingredients or packaging along the way as you've grown?
I've always gotten the bags from PBFY. It's Plastic Bags for You. The labels I actually got from a great local group. It's called Treehouse Stickers. The thing that I would say there is that they're local. They're super great, friendly. Very friendly. They do a decent job, and the price is right. So now service can be a little hit and miss sometimes. Sometimes they sleep in and forget to meet me at the coffee shop to hand me off the stickers. So I have decided to go a little more inexpensive with the stickers, and that's what I'm sacrificing is the professionalism. So if you're okay with that, I would highly recommend Treehouse Stickers, because they print well. I think they've had a few too many, but they're super friendly, and they're local, and it's an awesome price. You will not find a cheaper label at that quality, that thickness of the vinyl and whatnot. So it's a good, as far as that, if you're willing to give and take a little bit with your timeline and all that, then I would highly recommend Treehouse Stickers. PBFY is an online company, so you can look through all theirs. They have tons of different bags, pouches. I think that might be, they do all kinds of other stuff, like bags with the handles on them and things like that.
Can you talk about your production mix, like where you're producing your product?
So I've produced it, so the ingredients I have not changed. I tried to change them to go cheaper, to save money, right? Because that's what they tell you, when you have more quantity, you're gonna be able to save money. Well, yes and no. If you use really high quality ingredients, not really. And I use really high quality ingredients. The one thing I will cheapen the bag, I will cheapen the label, I will cheapen whatever else. I will not cheapen the ingredients inside the bag. I want the customer to have an excellent experience when they're eating this thing and when they're making it. And every cheaper flour or whatnot that I've tried, it just does not turn out the same. So that might just be because it's gluten-free, a little more fragile and sensitive. But in terms of ingredients, have not switched for that. It's just the quality is really important to us. So co-packing, I have packaged it. My family and I have packaged it. In fact, I just got off the phone with my daughter, my 10th grader. She's going to go with me to the kitchen on Friday. And we were talking about times and whatnot. And you'll often see us in there all together mixing. And we would prefer not to because it's been several years now. But I tried a co-packer about a year ago now. And he didn't do the quality. I'm just a stickler with quality. And he just would not do the measuring like I asked him to do. So we had a big blah, 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 and I had to figure all that out. So now I have very different questions for the co-packers. I'm not afraid to be super picky when I'm interviewing them. So I am in the process of interviewing co-packers again. But for right now, I'm back to producing it ourselves. The pizza dough, I do want to mention this, the thing that I learned at the farmer's market, and just in sales in general. The people, Americans, I can't speak for the rest of the world, but Americans don't seem to know how to cook anymore. And we really don't want to. We're busy. I mean, I myself wouldn't make pumpkin bread if I didn't have a mix to grab, right? It's just, I'm busy, it's crazy, and things are so much more convenient now. It's all about convenience and quickness. That is why we came out with the pizza dough. So this is our very first product in the ready-made or partially made section of the grocery store. And we're really excited about this because I think that it's going to be a big hit. I think that having a ready-made product, I have a pizza crust mix, baking mix, but the number one thing I hear from people is I don't want to have to make it. I have it in the cupboard, I don't want to have to make it. So this way, they just pick it up at the grocery store, they go home and roll it out and it's done. And so New Seasons loved this idea so much that they decided to take it on in all 19 stores, and it'll launch in about 3 weeks. And I asked them, I want to make money, so I'm really not connected to the name necessarily, and so I asked them to do it under their name. Because they'll sample it, they'll even buy their own samples. They do the entire 9 yards. They market it, they put it on sale, they drive the sales of it if it's under their name. So I became a brand partner, is what they call it for New Seasons. And in 3 weeks it'll have their wrap on it, and they do a great job of calling out to Kember's Gluten Free, made by Kember's Gluten Free, and on the back they say something about me or Kember's or something. And they're gonna start selling it in about 3 weeks. So
quick question about that partnership. Who handles the cost and design and production of the label? And when you deliver product to them, or when they pick up product, is it blank, or do you have to put the labels on? How do the logistics work around that?
I know for sure that with other grocery stores, I will be asking them to private label it as well. Other grocery stores, it'll be a different negotiation with each grocery store because they all have their own processes. But with New Seasons, they already had these type of sleeves. Printed for other products, sauces and salsas and stuff. So they had the source to be able to get the sleeve made cheaply. So they took on the cost of graphics and printing the sleeve. They give the sleeve to my co-packer, who's making the dough for me. And the co-packer fills the tub, puts the lid on, and puts the sleeve on. And then it goes in a box and it goes in the freezer. New Seasons picks it up through their distributor, which is United Grocers, from my co-packer, takes it to their central storage facility, and they handle all of the distribution. I don't have to pay for any of those percentages. I don't have to include that in any of my cost of goods or break-even analysis. So it's a very, very, very good deal to go private label, which is what I had learned through the mixes. It's what I've learned over the last few years, that I was able to really stick to my guns on this one and say, I don't want to go to 19 stores and sample pizza dough. It will not cost out for me. So, but you already pay people to stand at your solutions counter. You already have pizza dough. If I sell this, you already have it on your shelf. Somebody can grab it and make it and sell it. They were so excited about this because it's actually we had a hard time pricing it because there really is no other gluten-free ready-made pizza dough out there. So anyway, does that answer?
Yeah, definitely. And one other question, just to back up, you had made reference to being in the process of interviewing several co-packers. Finding and sourcing a gluten-free co-packer, not the easiest thing, I'm guessing. So when you say that you're interviewing several, is there really plenty of co-packers to choose from in the world of gluten-free?
There's getting to be more, but no.
And is it local, or are you looking?
There's local. There's Betty Lou, and then I think they're in McMinnville. And then there's one in Kent, which is the one that I had a hard time with. But he's actually a easy to deal with person. It was my formulas are super picky, and his processes don't do well with it. It's seasonings.net, Kent, Washington. Seasonings.net, and then there's one in Colorado that Bella Gluten Free referred me to, and I can't remember the name of that at the moment. But no, literally there's very few. The kitchen that I'm currently at is Jensen's Breads and Bakeries. They have been open to the idea of co-packing, and they're actually the ones that are co-packing this for me.
And shared kitchen space has to be equally as challenging to find.
Oh yeah.
Gluten-free.
Oh yeah, actually, not. It's very, very few and far between. But Jensen's Breads and Bakeries, Dave and Deb Jensen, they rent their kitchen. So if you're looking for a gluten-free, and it's dedicated and certified gluten-free kitchen space. And he's got an entire, ovens and freezers.
They're alumni from the class as well. So.
Yeah, great people too. We've supported each other a lot through the last several years, so.
So with co-packers, you pay them a percentage? Is that how it works? Just curious.
Yeah, with them, they gave me a price so I supply the dry mix to Dave. Dave supplies all the wet ingredients and then the labor of co-packing it. So he figured out his pricing of what the wet ingredients and the labor would cost him. Obviously tacked on some sort of margin percentage for profit for him. And he just gave me the final price of, okay, per dough ball, this is what it's going to cost you. And he gave me if you do, 1,000 dough balls, it'll be this price. If you do 4,000 dough balls, it'll be this price. And so there was a quantity price break in there too, which I definitely would always ask for no matter what you're talking about. If you're talking about bags or anything else, even if you're not ready to go to that level yet, ask what the price breaks are. It will definitely help you in the future. And then they also know that you know what you're talking about. So, but that is how that worked with them. I don't know if I've ever heard of a co-packer having a certain percentage.
No, it's usually the way
it's
you
just a
describe
price.
it.
Yeah.
Just a price.
They just give you a price, and that's and you know where to start from in terms of now that's going from there and adding your markup to then create your wholesale price.
The thing that I would strongly encourage you guys to think about is not spreading yourselves too thin, because because honestly, you're only one person, and you have to be the salesperson, the marketer, you have to be the cooker, the baker, the whatever it is you're doing, the manufacturer, the production person, the business person. You got to have bookkeeping in there somewhere. It's just crazy. Storage, distribution, even. There's so many hats that you have to wear all at the same time when you're launching this thing. And I would strongly encourage you to look into co-packers and scour the earth for somebody who will do small amounts with you at first, because to have to produce it yourself for a little while is good. It helps you get to know your product and be hands-on, and helps you get to know what you want to ask a co-packer and what you want to require from a co-packer. But you're going to want to quickly shift to something else because you won't be able to wear all of those hats and do it well. and then continue to come out with new products and innovations and stuff like that. So I would definitely encourage you to, you're not gonna be able to afford employees for a while, so.
I know we're getting short on time. I want to ask you one last question because of the panel tonight. You are our gluten-free expert.
Yes.
When you have a product, do you ever feel that it's limited you by being in the gluten-free
For
arena?
sure.
And do you
Yeah.
wish that you had done a more mainstream
No.
product as well?
No, it limits me. I'm in a niche, and that is hard to sell. Niche products are tough, and there's only a certain percentage of the population. So when I'm at a farmer's market, the people next to me, their products, everybody wants, or at least 70 or 80% of the people would be open to buying it. When you're in gluten-free or any other type of niche thing, you're at a much lower percentage, 5 to 10%. So my sales are much, much smaller in general when I'm at food shows and whatnot. But for me, it's a value set. I gotta know what I'm doing. I can't appeal to gluten-full and gluten-free people. It's an allergen issue. It's not a profit. I don't know how to describe it, but for me, it's a line in the sand. I'm not against gluten-full or gluten-full people, but I have a product that's gluten-free, and that's what we stand for, and we're super particular about it and passionate about it and knowledgeable. So, which has also made it difficult to hire people. So, they have to be just as knowledgeable if they're going to run the booth. So it is difficult. It's something that I wish I would have known going into it. Even I may not have made a different choice, but I would have been more prepared mentally, emotionally for it. It's tough to be in a niche and to be watching all these people making crazy sales around you, and you're like, okay, I'm 10% of the people here are going to be interested in my product. So,
Well, thank you very much for your time tonight.